Bam! What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about the Tech Evasion team, and I mean, it's not the one I'm most keen for. I'm still definitely most keen for the Air Evasion team, but I feel like I still got to talk about the Tech Evasion team. And after we're done with these evasion comps, I figure we can move on to some other potential theory crafting. You know, maybe I'll go over the old stuff like poison and bomb teams, but I'd like to delve into some newer stuff. Specifically things like related to like people have been using Tide Pool's leader skill a lot, and you know, great for chaos, but I think in other areas, in the ways people have been trying to use it, Anyways, we'll get into that later. Let's talk about Tech Evasion team and cover the other stuff another time. Now, when it comes to the Tech Evasion team comp, the downside that it has over the water evasion comp and the air evasion comp is that you have to rely on gear shift, okay? And specifically, gear shift's passive here. So when gear shift attacks somebody, it removes parts ×1 to get the provoke effect on gear shift. Now, gear shift themselves doesn't actually provide parts. So what I'm thinking is you kind of like the ideal comp here would be to have all the units that have parts, or have all other units having the parts debuff, which is another kind of issue that, you know, the tech team has, is that A, you've got to debuff them, and then B, you've got to have gear shift actually attack someone that has parts on them, right? Now, it is actually kind of okay. So like you would be using gear shift's leader skill, okay, to increase the evasion rate across the field on your entire team party. However, gear shift themselves has, say, 20% base evasion, and the other units that I want to identify here, so Robo, okay, 13% evasion, Drobot, 13% evasion, and Sprocket, 13% evasion. Now I feel like these four units here would be the ideal units. The other Tech Evasion comps that I've seen, like I saw people using Trigger Happy, Chain Reaction. However, neither of these units have parts on them, at least I'm pretty sure. And same with these other three here. I don't think he has parts. Evasion down, yeah. However, these four particular units, so Gear Shift, Drobot, Robo, and Sprocket, actually work. Like their synergy together is actually really good. It's just that the downside is that the water evasion comp and the air evasion comp don't need any kind of setup for the provoke. However, as far as synergy goes, it is quite good, and you do get like a couple of nat 5s on there. Plus, Sprocket is actually a pretty good healer too. Like Sprocket can cause some issues. Okay. Now, as you can see here, Sprocket also comes with a silence. So right now, there's a big meta with using Pit Boss, okay? Both on defense and offense. So even in RTA, like I feel like for defensive purposes, the Tech Evasion team won't be too good. I'm not too hot on how the AI might perform for the Tech Evasion comp. However, if you are running all three of these units, okay, then maybe they'll actually kind of work well together. The only issue is, of course, you've got to get parts out. So let's go over Robo quickly. Yeah, so this one here can knock down. It uses 4 mana though, okay? And this one here also does parts. So both of these does, oh no wait, sorry. This one, if the enemy possesses parts effect, it increases damage. So the first skill grants parts, okay? And there's also the defense penetration rate down, so it's a decent enough debuff, but not super amazing. It also has the evasion rate down, okay? So we don't need to fuss too much about, you know, the leader skill. However, for Drobo himself, he gets the accuracy up when the parts effect is granted on the enemy. So parts plays a big role in Robo's actual, like, you know, it's just like if you just run your whole team with parts, then they're going to synergize really well together. So Gear Shift relies on parts for the provoke, Robo relies on parts for a couple of their abilities, and I believe Drobot as well. So Drobot, so here we go, Drobot has a strip, and it strips all buffs. So very similar to Pit Boss, okay? Does do some okay damage. Drobot is a support though, so you want to watch out for that. I think that all of them, all of the units you kind of want to build as tanky, but also with damage, okay? Drobot also has a debuff remove, okay? So it has a cleanse, remove all debuff effects of the target, but you can see here the target is all allies. Plus the effect accuracy rate up for 4 turns. So 3 turn full cleanse of the whole party. You can kind of see where like I feel like the AI probably wouldn't do too well on defense, but if you're utilizing a Tech Evasion comp for your offensive strategy, you probably can't lose in most cases just because of how well the part synergy is, right? Like you can even strip all buffs on someone. So let's say Mr. Cat does a heal, right? You strip one target, right? Because because it only targets one unit. But as soon as you put parts on that one target that you've stripped, then you can utilize everybody else's skill. Okay? And then just set off kind of a chain reaction. Like you'll still be able to heal with Sprocket if you can get parts effect on somebody and then attack with Sprocket. Okay? Now, the last skill here for Drobot was the defense down and parts effect for 4 turns. So Drobot actually puts parts on there for quite a long time. Like once you do get parts on someone, most of these parts debuffs actually last quite a long time, like 3-4 turns. Okay? And you can also see here, even in the passive, the amount of damage received will be decreased by 30% if you're attacked by an enemy with the parts effect, and it increases your effect accuracy as well. So like, Drobot, Robo, Gear Shift, currently all synergizing with parts really well. And then of course, once we get the Sprocket, Sprocket relies on parts to get the heal. And also, like, with the passive, sorry, so the passive is the heal, okay? If the parts effect is granted on the enemy, or when the enemy with the parts effect is attacked, recovers the HP of the ally with the lowest HP by 25% of your max HP. And this is basically, you can attack with either of these skills, and it'll heal the ally with the lowest HP. The heal seems pretty decent, so essentially, you put parts effect using Robo or Drobot, and then you follow up with Sprocket, who can put parts effect on, and she does heal. Like when she puts parts effects on someone, she does heal immediately after putting parts effect on someone. So this skill here that grants parts will also heal when you do it. Okay. Plus the first skill. Okay, so when she follows up the first skill, so you get those 2 heals straight away. So while Tech Evasion, I feel like the AI and like the mana cost and stuff, I feel like the AI wouldn't be very good at mana management, and it would use things in the wrong order when you're trying to run this comp on defense. However, if you're running this comp on an offense, you've got a strip, so you can pretty much always have parts up and be utilizing your parts debuff, as long as you have enough effect accuracy, of course. And you can see the item slots here. If you are trying to build in DPS, like, you can make an effect accuracy, belt. Okay, we'll call it belt. I was going to say accessory, but we'll call it belt. Robo here, maybe effect accuracy on the gloves because there are 2 attack slots. Like, this is just like if you really, really need to try and get past someone's effect resistance here. And then Drobot, again, you can put effect accuracy on the belt if you need to. However, you might not need to worry about that. Like, you can probably get away with just building them all offense, because while often people do pimp out their tank unit, I think that maybe Drobot would be the only one you really need to worry about getting a ton of effect accuracy on in order to counter the effect resistance on the tank unit. But as long as there's no immunity on everyone, you can hit with, so Sprocket here, this does also hit the unit next to the tank. So unless they both have really good effect resistance, and you can see here actually, Sprocket's got a base 92% effect accuracy, so that's actually quite high. Let's actually just double check. Yeah, so Drobot also 113% base, and Robo's kind of okay there with 85%. And then Gear Shift, 89% is but we don't really worry about trying to, effect accuracy with Gear Shift. What we want on Gear Shift is the evasion rate up and the provoke effect. Every time you you kind of want to cycle these. So like this is a 3-turn cooldown, this is a 3-turn cooldown. So another downside is obviously Provoke's not going to be up all the time. However, you are providing that evasion boost to everyone. And everyone, I'm pretty sure, like, you have the accessory slot. So you see Drobot here's got 2 boots. So you can get evasion rate on both the accessory and the boots. Same with Sprocket, accessory, boots, both you can get evasion on both of those. And Robo as well as the substat. Okay, you can get evasion as a substat, and that will boost you even further. You'll be having, once again, similar to say 40-50% base evasion, and that's before you kick into using the evasion Portermaster here. Okay, so you see Eugene, you can see you can actually get up to like a 50% boost, and because the consumed core power is so low, if you run Bond on pretty much everybody, then you'll be able to use it like pretty much every second or third turn, depending on how lucky or unlucky you get. Okay, and yeah, that's the Tech Evasion comp. That's the synergy right there. And like I was trying to say before, I don't think it'll work too well on defense. Okay, so the AI I don't think is going to utilize like the mana cost very well. Like I don't think its mana management is going to be very good, and the actual like Sprocket isn't like even if you run Mysticat, okay, because I run Mysticat for my main comp, you get like that one turn, okay, where there's like no immunity, and usually when I'm attacking, I would get I would get Sprockets hitting parts debuff on me during that one turn, okay, that my immunity is down, and it would cause some hassles. But in the long run of the match, Sprocket combined with another healer was causing more issues. Now, of course, you can, once again, combine these evasion comps with like other units like Mysticat, Flashwing, or in like another DPS. However, I just feel like the synergy between like Gear Shift, Drobot, Robo, and Gear Shift here, and Sprocket here, it's just too hard to pass up. Like, yes, we have these other units. However, I just don't feel like they're worth worrying about, like, if you're going to go for Tech Evasion. So, like, I feel like Air Evasion is probably the easiest to utilize for both offense and defense. It should work pretty well together, as long as Blades does use its Provoke skill. I think Blades' Provoke skill is a little okay, when it comes to the AI and, prioritizing skills. Water Evasion comp, super powerful, as we went over in the video. Like, you throw Kingpin out there with Washbuckler Evasion, like Washbuckler's got low cost, and Kingpin just starts with Provoke. Then Kingpin's got like the strength, the shield, and all that other ridiculous nonsense. And then you can just throw whoever you want in the middle there, right? You've got like a strong single target DPS in Washbuckler, plus Kingpin as just being the super tank that's going to have Provoke at the start of the fight as soon as they take a turn. And then you can put like Tidepool or whoever else in there, right? They don't have their own dedicated water healer, but I mean, if you throw in like Flashwing or Mysticat, that's pretty powerful comp, okay? And you can use that offense or defense. However, when you come to tech, there's going to be a lot more setup, and I feel like you have to kind of like, if you're going to use a Tech Evasion comp, it's mostly just going to be useful for, say, I mean, maybe Chaos, right? Maybe. But mostly for, say, Arena offense, because I don't think the AI is going to use it too well, okay? When it comes to defense. Anyways, I think I've pretty much covered everything. Let's go over enchants again, just to reiterate what I've said in the other couple of videos. Now, I believe we go to help here, and let's see, enchant. Here we go. So for set effects, like, yes, there's mana, there's whirlwind, maybe whirlwind on gear shift, right? Because gear shift has those long cooldowns, right? And then, so I feel like in this particular case, immunity is okay. You don't want anything like, you don't want reflect, fatal, protection, purify, drain. You don't need to worry about those. I feel like in this case, whirlwind and bond would be the way to go. Okay, so whirlwind, because you've got to get parts out. Maybe even like whirlwind on Drobot perhaps, because then let's say Drobot attacks and strips someone, whirlwind procs, then you can attack and strip somebody else. You get that multiple strip across the part, like, you know, across the board. Even though usually you'd only be able to strip one unit at a time, you could essentially take a turn and strip all of those buffs that just came on the enemy team if you wanted to. And then alternatively, you'd want to be using Bond so that you can get your Evasion Quartermaster rolling a lot quicker. I feel like the other ones, like mana, you only get mana when you defeat an enemy with skills. And then the others just don't really do as well as, say, Whirlwind and Bond will do, in my opinion. I just feel like in order to utilize the parts effect debuff, this strip and the actual the gear shift provoke that you want to kind of have up at as much as possible, especially when gear shift buffs themselves with more evasion, right? So if we go back, we take a look. The main draw for Tech is that once gear shift has their evasion rate up buff, like, you don't need anyway. Like, I've seen gear shifts with like 150% evasion, right? And you can also, it's 1 mana for 3 endurance down. Okay, so you don't really have like they don't really have much in the way of knockdowns. I think Drobot had a knockdown. Was it Drobot or Robo? No. Maybe it was Sprocket. Yep, okay, here we go. Yeah. So 4 mana, 4 endurance hit. Pretty heavy mana usage there. However, it probably hits pretty hard as well. Not 100% sure on the multipliers, but you know, you can see their base stats are all pretty decent as well. So especially if you're using like 2 heroics and you build them both as like, because Robo is an attack, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so Robo is an attack unit. Drobot I have seen hit somewhat okay. And yeah, just something to keep in mind. I don't know how well they'll go trying to finish off a really tanky team, but I feel like the strip from Drobot here plus Robo together should be fine for it. Gear Shift's not going to do too much. I would suggest trying to build Gear Shift as attack just so you get that, because it is a defense unit, and most of what's going to happen is going to be dodging, right, with evasion. So you can see here, you could run like triple HP, attack, and then defense for the helmet, right? And then try and get some attack, like crit rate and crit damage substats on the gear, some more attack. Like, it's going to be very tanky, but you also kind of want to get some damage out there. You could just go pure tank and then really hope, because as long as you're putting out parts and you upkeep that provoke, you're going to pretty much dodge every strip that comes your way, so that provoke isn't going to come off. Okay, because I don't think there are any strips. So like Pit Boss is going to get evaded, and so, you know, most people are using Pit Boss. They go to attack Gear Shift, gets evaded. Oops, your provoke's still up. Oh, everyone's kind of trying to attack Gear Shift. Oh, you know. Now, something I didn't cover in the other videos, which I'll go over quickly before I end, since we're nearing 18 minutes now, and I've kind of just been repeating myself for a lot of it, is for team setup, when you are trying to utilize, you know, putting these units together, when it comes to your tank, now, because you're using Gear Shift's particular leader skill, right? You're using Gear Shift's leader skill. You want to have Gear Shift's going to show up on the left, right? So a lot of people utilize Ember and other kind of attacks that are like, let's see. So if we go to Sprocket here, you see here, inflict damage to 3 random enemies. Oh, actually, I thought that was adjacent enemies. So if it's random, it might not work in the same way. But Ember has a skill. So we're going to use Ember as an example here. Ember has, I believe, this skill. Yeah, so the nearby enemies, which means basically like 1 enemy either side of the target, right? So practically, or practicality, if you're using it in a practical way, what you would want to do is target a monster in the middle, and then it will attack both units either side, and you've attacked 3 monsters. However, if you have Gear Shift on the far left or far right, you know, whichever position is the tank position, depending on what screen you're on, instead of hitting 3 units, she's only going to hit 2, because she's going to hit the tank that for our screen is going to be on the far left, and then the unit next to it. So what you want to do there is probably put Drobot there, right? That way you keep Sprocket and Robot safe. So Robo is, as your attack unit, going to be kept safe on, say, the far right, and then Sprocket maybe second right, or vice versa. Okay, maybe you want to keep your healer safe, so try and keep the units you want to keep alive the longest as far away from gear shift as you can. Okay, because that's going to help prevent those hits adjacent enemy skills from hitting your actual team, right? Because they're going to have less evasion than gear shift, and while gear shift might dodge, the other unit is probably going to get hit. So let's say you've got Drobot there. What are you losing? You're losing the strip. You're losing the debuff removal and the extra parts. Okay, so like probably not as big of a loss to lose Drobot versus Robo or Sprocket as far as surviving as long as you can in arena goes. Okay, you kind of like, you want gear shift to evade the hits, make sure all the hits are coming towards gear shift, but then you've got to watch out for whoever's right next to gear shift. And as long as, like, if gear shift survives and then Drobot dies, you're going to have an empty space there, and those skills become completely pointless, completely useless. Gear shift's the only one that's going to take them. And then the only thing you've got to watch out for is obviously if they've got immunity up. So maybe you want to aim for the unit that has immunity up first, so say Misty Cat or Light Knight or Nightlight, sorry, and take them out first at the start of the match, and then you won't have to worry too much about your parts effects. The good thing about this comp as far as DPS goes is that you actually don't have to worry about immunity to do your damage, okay? Unlike, say, Freeze Blade, who I use a lot, where you get that extra proc from the passive when you attack, put freeze on someone, and then he takes freeze away and then procs extra damage. Parts isn't really used for anything like that. Parts is mostly used for, say, the extra effects and debuffs and stuff and the healing, but it's not used to like proc a whole bunch of extra damage for the most part. Anyways, I'm going to call it there because the video is getting a bit long, and I hope you guys have been well informed. Now, of course, you can make use of the other units like I was saying earlier. However, I think these are the 4 units that you would really want to focus on if you're trying to make a Tech Evasion comp. And the others would just be like, if you don't have Robo, if you don't have Drobot, Gear Shift and Sprocket, much easier to acquire. You know, you can interchange, okay? So like Sprocket and Gear Shift on their own does kind of work alright, but like the more units with parts, the better, in my opinion, especially when Drobot can strip immunity, you can reapply parts, and then just, you know, Robo is gonna synergize well with parts as well because that's how the character's built. Okay. Anyways, peace out, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one when I'm probably gonna, yeah, I'll have to figure out what I want to talk about. There's a few other comps rolling around in my head that I kind of like want to put into play at some point in the future, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, peace out, guys.